questions at the end when we have a little more time, is a mainstream study that came out about fluoride consumption. So I'm going to read KTLA 5. This is mainstream news now. Study links fluoride consumption during pregnancy to lower IQ in children. So how dare the conspiracy theorist mainstream media suggest that fluoride might be bad for the human body in some way? Thinking back, I've had friends for decades tell me that fluoride, calciates your pineal gland, maybe the most famous being Alex Jones telling people not to drink fluoride, that is poison. A lot of people saying fluoride's great for your teeth, although I have met people that don't use fluoride. They use natural stuff like this black, I forget exactly what it is, but they have beautiful teeth, and they don't use fluoride. So I think there probably are other options, although the science there is debatable. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor. Consult with your nearest dentist. Point I'm getting to is conspiracy theorists have said for decades something was wrong with fluoride. They've been mocked, they've been smeared, they've been defamed, they've been kicked off social media. That's usually what they do. They say the science is settled. You can't question vaccines, you can't question fluoride, you can't question the food industry, you can't question the medicine industry. Don't question this person, don't question that person. Don't you dare have a question. We invented a term, conspiracy theorist, to say, how dare you theorize about people conspiring, even though the entire world is a conspiracy theory. Everyone's conspiring. Who runs this? Who runs that? Who controls this? The world is a conspiracy theory. People conspire. That's what every business does. They conspire. A bunch of people get together and they do something. So the whole term has been a lie, but we're going to read into this study a little bit. Water fluoridation has been hailed by the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention as one of the top great public health achievements of the 20th century. But a new study raises questions about its role as a potential neurotoxin in utero. So I'm going to read that first sentence again. Water fluoridation has been hailed by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention as one of the top great public health achievements of the 20th century. So when it comes to the U.S. Center for Disease Control, or the CDC as they call it, you can look into them, have your own perspective. Nothing's perfect. Obviously, the government doesn't usually do a good job, but it's pretty creepy that they're hailing this the greatest public health achievement. I could think of quite a few things that are probably a little bit more healthy than just throwing fluoride in water. But now, 20 years down the road, after they called everyone a conspiracy theory, they probably said 10 years ago, how dare you question our greatest public health achievement of all time? It's like Teflon pans and plastic, water bottles. Like, oh, great achievement. Wow, you did so much for our public health. Now they realize it might not be so healthy. So the study published by the JAMA Pediatrics on Monday found that increased levels of fluoride exposure during pregnancy were associated with declines in IQ in children. Previous research had made similar findings, but this is the first study to evaluate the effect of fluoride on populations receiving what the U.S. Public Health Service considers optimal levels, 0.7 milligrams of fluoride per liter of drinking water. So there's been studies that have proven this before. I mean, Alex Jones, you could say what you want about him, you could call him this, that, or the other, but a lot of times when he talks about atrazine or fluoride, he says they're turning the frogs gay when it comes to atrazine. You can disagree with the study, but he's not the one making this stuff up. They did a Berkeley study about it. You could say the Berkeley study's fake, but they're like, Alex is crazy. How dare him talk about atrazine in the water? It's multiple studies. Same with this. They said there's already been studies about this, and I'm sure when Alex talks about fluoride in the water and other people, they reference these studies, and then the media says, how dare you just make up a theory? It's like Berkeley University did it. I didn't do it. That's half the things I say are provable on Wikipedia. I'm not saying Wikipedia is accurate, but they're like, anomaly. I'm like, you Google this, it comes up first search, and they act like I'm crazy for saying it. So this was the first one that proved not only that fluoride might not be great, in some situations, but the actual level that the CDC tells you is great isn't great. So that's what made this study a little bit more revolutionary. Once again, they said the author of the new study assessed 601 Canadian mother and child pairs. So it's kind of like the poll. They tested on 600 people, and then they think that they have some sort of study. This is a lot of studies, even though this may go along with my agenda, even though I don't have one, of being a conspiracy theorist. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this study is 100% perfect and true. All I'm going to say is the science is really never settled until you can really make a good point. They say the science of the earth is settled even though we haven't explored 80 to 90% of the ocean. the science of this is settled because the CDC said so. The science of this is settled because the government said so. The science of this is settled because, someone did a test with 600 Canadian mothers. Doesn't mean this science is settled either. However, this does open the door to say it's debatable, it should be looked into, and every person on the right wing or the left wing, this isn't really a political issue, should understand that whether it be the food industry, the medicine industry, you should be allowed to question what they're doing, and anybody who tells you otherwise is not your friend in this situation. Because when it comes to vaccinations too, I'm gonna talk a little bit about that, because a lot of big social media, including Facebook, are trying to silence, censor, shut down, rig algorithms for multiple reasons, but one of them is vaccines. They say you can't be anti-vax, you can't be anti-vax. So it's kind of like if you question why the climate might be changing, or how it's changing, or how much ice there is, or if there's volcanoes, or if you challenge anything that has to do with mainstream, government science, they call you an a denier, a climate denier. I'm not denying the climate changes. It's, summer, spring, winter, fall. And then you look at the history of the earth, the recorded earth. It's been like, we've been recording temperatures not that long. It's a conversation that can be had. I'm not a denier. I'm a skeptic and a challenger. They do the same thing with vaccinations. They say you're anti-vax if you question vax at all. This is a Yahoo article from February 17th, 2015. It says, this is Yahoo. So if Facebook wants to shut me down, if YouTube wants to shut me down, if the ADL wants to censor algorithms and try to, ruin everybody's life because they have their own agenda that they don't want to admit they have, you could do that on your own time. But this is Yahoo News, so if you got a problem with it, talk to Yahoo. Parents of vaccine-injured children speak out. The guilt is huge. So this is, once again, Yahoo News. Lawson tells Yahoo Parenting that one morning, about a week after Julia received the shot, her now ex-husband found their daughter in a terrifying state. She was blue and cold and her body was arched, her eyes were looking in opposite directions, and she was covered in feces and vomit. We thought she was dead. She rushed to the hospital. She had a diagnosis of swelling at the brain. So if you scroll down a little bit, it says, every family featured in this story received a payment by the United States Court of Federal Claims, which concluded that their rare injuries were caused by vaccines. So the fact that some children, I'm not going to say all or how many or speculate how many, but it's a fact. It's not a conspiracy theory. There's nothing anti-vax about me reading a Yahoo mainstream news article. It's a fact that vaccines have injured children. It's literally provable in the United States Court and Federal Claims. It's happened quite often. Maybe you could say it's rare. You could say it's an anomaly, for lack of a better word, but it happens. So a red flag for everybody should be one of two things. The mainstream media, Facebook, YouTube, Google, and all of these fake speech organizations trying to censor and silence you, saying you can't possibly question them, that's a whole red flag. The fact they're saying you can't deny how they work, it's a red flag, because if you look at some of the food they're pumping kids, the medicine that they're just jamming down kids' throat, I personally believe that it's not necessary, a lot of the medicine they're giving kids. So if they're pumping not necessary medicines down kids' throat, they tried to pump it down my throat in the form of Adderall. Most mass shooters are on antidepressants or Xanax, and there's a correlation there that they never talk about. I'm not sure that vaccines are as healthy as they say, and I think as an American I have the right to say that, because all the evidence and logic and research in my direction shows that I'm sure some may be very, very helpful. But the fact that they keep increasing them and combining them and adding more and pumping more and more in kids, and the fact that you're not allowed to question if it actually affects the kids when it's literally mainstream news that it has affected kids, to me what that says is we want to make money, we want to make profits, we don't care if we hurt you on the way, we want to combine them and do this, and if you dare question us, we'll delete your channel or kick you off social media or dub you a conspiracy theorist when we ourselves admit that it did exactly what you said it did. So I don't trust it. Another thing I don't trust is the fact that New York and California, a lot of people have asked me to talk about it, so we'll do it today, is they're trying to make it mandatory for children to take vaccinations. So here's my thought about the whole situation. I've read a lot of articles. First of all, the government should not mandate that. Imagine if they said, your kid needs Adderall, your kid needs Xanax, and if you don't give your kid Xanax or Adderall, we won't let them into schools. In some cases, certain, like, I'll give you an example. I unfortunately had to take a vaccine. I'm very, very, not thrilled about it. However, I have such a legendary immune system, praise the Lord, that I'm fighting off all the negative aspects of it very well. However, when I stepped on a spike, they didn't just give me a tetanus shot like they used to. They gave me a tetanus vaccine with 3-in-1 sort of things. It's like whooping cough, this, that, the other. It's like they had to give me some 3-in-1 thing that I didn't really, in hindsight, I kind of wish I didn't take it. But overall, they didn't have to give those 3-in-1. They could have just given me one, but because they don't carry it anymore, they only have the 3-in-1. So I don't need a whooping cough vaccine, just like I don't need a flu vaccine. If you want to get it, that's on you, but I would not. But, I'm not a doctor or anything, not claiming to be, I'm just saying. But overall, with all of this stuff, they're trying to make it mandatory to pump your kid with medicine that it's proven may actually injure your kid. That should be your choice. You shouldn't have to live with the government telling you to pump up your kid, feces and pee all over itself, and then they have brain damage for the rest of their life. That's a heavy burden to bear, knowing that the government made you do that, let alone it was your own free choice. So that should be a red flag for everybody, regardless if you're pro-vaccine or not. If you're anti-vaccine, pro-vaccine, the government should not be if you don't understand how dangerous that is, I don't know what to tell you. Another very, once again, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, but as somebody who researches and analyzes things, the reason that they say, because a lot of these reports, I did it last time, I had all my evidence, a lot of times when they say measles outbreak, mumps outbreak, and everyone's like, oh my God, get your kid vaccinated. What they don't tell you is you read the article, I've done it twice in Florida and I believe New York, all the kids who got measles were vaccinated for measles. All the kids who got mumps were vaccinated for mumps. So 100% of the kids with the disease got the vaccine. Do you know what the science that they're pushing in the mainstream news and mainstream science is? They say the reason that the kids who got the vaccines got the disease is because of herd immunity, they call it. And they say herd immunity means most people need to get the vaccine or the vaccine doesn't work. Does that make sense to you? If everybody doesn't take Xanax, then your Xanax doesn't work. If everybody doesn't drink water, then the water you drank doesn't work. If everybody doesn't drink apple cider vinegar, then your apple cider vinegar doesn't work. If anyone else doesn't get the tetanus shot, your tetanus shot doesn't. Have you ever heard that in any other situation in science and medicine where every single person needs to get the immunity or it doesn't work via the herd immunity? I'm no scientist, I'm no doctor, but to me that sounds like one of the biggest lies I've ever heard, to say every single person needs a vaccine and we're going to pump every single kid with one, and if you disagree with us, we'll call you conspiracy theorists. And so I don't understand. I mean, I would love to have a conversation or a debate with a scientist who explains to me, yeah, herd immunity is very real. You need to pump up every kid or none of the vaccines work. The whole point of getting the vaccine is to be able to stop the disease on contact. I got the tetanus shot, so if I got tetanus, I wouldn't get it. Not so everybody else needs a tetanus shot in order for me not to get tetanus. I don't know if that's real science. To me, that sounds like not real science. But once again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. That's my personal American perspective. And I want to say another thing, because I've talked about Jewish speech laws and Israel law. I want to actually stand up for my Jewish brothers and sisters in a different element that since I've been talking about it a lot the last week, that a lot of people don't ever talk about and support. Someone said on my comment, they said, talk about, the Jewish community in the New York City, New Jersey area, that the government's trying to force them to take vaccinations because they're trying to claim the certain Jewish community. They're trying to say, we don't want to take vaccinations, and the government's saying, you have to. And people are telling me, they even have rabbis coming out, and the rabbis are saying, no, it's not our religion to not take the vaccine. It's not our religion. They should take it. I stand up with those Jewish brothers and sisters. I'm an American, citizen, and here you have the freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, and also the right to not have the government decide what medicine you do and don't take. Especially when they've constantly, time and time again, got proven with over-prescribing. So those are Jewish people that I find that, not to knock Republicans now, I've done it enough the last week, but a lot of Republicans say, anomaly, how dare you say that? how come you guys don't stand up for the Jewish people in New York City who big government is trying to influence their life and their kids and say, pump your kids up, pump your kids up. I don't care if it's a religious reason or a non-religious reason. Those people in New York City, just like people all over, the world, or at least in our country, shouldn't be forced by Bill de Blasio to pump their kids up. So, God bless. I'm going to quote my man, Matisyahu. If you guys don't know Matisyahu, who's a Jewish rapper, he said, ask Hashem for mercy, he'll throw you a rope. That's a little joke, but that's a fire song. Matisyahu is a banger, but ask Hashem for mercy, he'll throw you a rope. You get what I'm saying. Overall, that's the thing. So in California and New York, I'm not for the government pumping up for all of those reasons. And I hope that this situation of fluoride is a big wake-up call for a lot of people, because a lot of science, a lot of medicine, a lot of stuff, it's not that it's all bad, but they're absolutely overprescribing. I would argue that it's not even debatable that they're overprescribing. I know they are for a fact. So even at bare minimum, they're overprescribing. At maximum, they're giving people things that will hurt them, and in the middle, it's going to hurt some people, it's going to help some people, but that's your right as a person to, opt in or opt out. So fluoride in the water, mainstream studies, don't know if it's true or not, but we should take a very close look at a lot of stuff, not just fluoride in the water. I mean, sugar, certain drinks that we drink, like I said, cooking products, aluminum, a lot of things that they've called conspiracy theories for a while. When it's all said and done, people are going to realize that the conspiracy theorists were 100% right, and the people who believe the television, because Neil Armstrong said they went to the moon in 1969, are going to be more wrong than they thought they were. That's just my personal thoughts. Thank you, guys. And I'll take questions for the last 20 minutes or so. We'll just vibe out. Thank you guys for joining. As always, please come to the event in Los Angeles, Make America Debate Again. We're going to have people ask questions about medicine. We're going to talk about food. We're going to talk about finances. We're going to get to the core of stuff. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I say both parties don't get to the core. So, we're going to do that. Los Angeles, September. Check the link for tickets. VIP tickets almost sold out. Regular tickets, there's more than enough available, and it's already going to be a huge success, which means I will be taking this show on the road in the next couple months. So please, I hope to see you out there. If you come, God bless you. If you don't, still God bless you. It's okay. I won't be mad. But thank you, guys. Let's